Hi guys, this is Chris Payne with Payne's Paddlefish. Had quite a few questions about the different tracks on the Native Slayer, and so I wanted to do a quick example of kind of what I'm talking about here. So this is the front hatch. As you can see, there's the hatch, and so these bungees are attached on these loops here by this screw, and that is not a movable entity without a screwdriver. So you've only got a little bit of track right there, and so you've got all this track right here, but you can't get to it because you've got another screw right there. So all of that track is more or less wasted unless you have a screwdriver on you and somehow find a way to do this on the water. I had no interest in doing that. The other thing that we talked about here, see how this is inset right there? So I've got a T-bolt on the end of this ram rod holder here, and if you try to manipulate that into the, there's no way that fits in there without, what you have to do is you have to undo all 4 of these screws, and then you actually have to loosen the nut on the back side of these once you pull that off to get that track out enough. Once you put the T-bolt in there, it's not going to come out. So when you get home, you have to undo all of that stuff and put it back there. So that's not super functional either. You do have some track from here all the way to the handle on the side that you can put stuff in. But since there's no entry point on this back side, you have to front load it from here in the order that you want it. So if you wanted a rod holder, a panfish mount, and a Mad Frog mount, you would have to do them in the order that you needed, and then you have to track them all out in the reverse order if you wanted them out. And then we come back here to the back, and again we've got this long track on the back tank well, and again we've got these screwed in bungee loops. And so the track on the back is pretty much useless unless you want to permanent mount something. So for those of us that like to tear down and clean the boat up for travel and that kind of thing, it just, without leaving the T-bolts in, it's just not really a possibility. The black pack fits in pretty snug when you go horizontally. So you can see there's not a lot of room, and that's good. And I can fit, if I shove this box all the way forward, I can barely fit a 5-gallon bucket in here, right in the very back of the tank well. But because we've got these risers here so the water will drain off, that bucket actually won't sit very steady on there. So it kind of defeats the purpose. I'd almost rather see the circular molding on the back, because that's a personal preference. That's how I like to carry that stuff. And so other than the front square hatch, this is your only other access to the underdeck that we talked about, and my hand barely fits in there, much less being able to get a rod or something else in there. So desperately need to work on that for those of us that want underdeck storage. For those of you that don't care about it, that is not a problem. And then you've got the nice clean laid out deck. This is the bungee that I referenced that could hold a fly box or something like that, or even a small Plano tackle box, and then molded in cup holder there. So that's about it. Thanks.